purposes throughout the entire region. Collectively, we are writing you to express in the strongest possible terms our desire to have you make the CPV a key component within your energy highway blueprint. In addition to the very significant environmental and economic benefits created by this project, more importantly, it will be a critical tool in helping address the significant electric rates increases projected to hit the lower Hudson Valley as a result of the Federal Energy Regulation Commission, a newly approved capacity zone. While it may not entirely mitigate the devastating impact this new capacity zone will have in our region and our economics through higher electricity rates, adding CPV value to the capacity mix will help push lower prices than they would otherwise be. The proposed CPV value is an outstanding energy project that promises to deliver the precise benefits identified in the plan for the decades to come. The project has met all the stringent regulatory requirements and enjoys unusual, strong, and cohesive support from the leaders within our community. For all these reasons, we ask you move quickly to help this project reality. Signed, Joe DeStefano. Now, none of that. Where was all these outreach programs? I haven't seen any, except I only heard of 3.
Martin Harnick, Sunnyside Avenue. First of all, let me add my voice to those who said that the smell in our area of the city was pretty bad yesterday morning. I have to apologize for coming to this fight against the CPV plant a little late. But the analogy I would put forth is that back in the 1980s, if my memory serves me, we became aware that a lot of the clothing we were importing from Asian nations was being manufactured in horrible conditions, often using child labor and forced labor. The United States began to enter into trade agreements with many of these nations and use diplomatic pressure to try to end this practice. Here in New York, we've found that frack gas to be dangerous to our environment, and we've banned it. I don't understand why we'd want to encourage those people in Pennsylvania to frack gas so that we can use it. And I would hope that we would do all in our power as a city to see that this plant never comes online. Thank you.
We 9:30 yesterday morning, we walked outside to do some gardening because it was getting nicer. And I thought my neighbor's house was burning. It smelled like when our neighbor's house burned last summer. We were so alarmed by this, we called the fire department, and the fire department came, and it wasn't a house burning, it was the CPV plant. And everyone here saw that fog and could smell that awful smell that was making our eyes water, and my daughter has a cough, made it worse. And this was alarming because we could smell it and it was real. We've been against the CPV plant from the beginning. I've written to Joe saying I don't want us, Middletown, to sell our water because we could make money, because this city means nothing if we can't breathe, if we can't go for a walk, if we can't have good air. And while yesterday was very shocking because of the smell, it's even more troublesome that when if I hope they don't switch to frack gas, maybe the smell won't be as much. But how about the carcinogens going in the air and those chemicals that maybe we don't smell but are still there harming us and causing problems? It just doesn't make sense. We have so much garbage that we throw away. In even our sewage treatment plant makes methane gas, which is just burned and it goes away. But that methane gas in Haiti at our school, we use it to cook the food for the kids. So the garbage that we produce here in Middletown could be used as fuel. It could, you know, the guys at the sewage treatment plant, guys and gals at the sewage treatment plant could cook their tea and food from the methane that's produced. So there's, instead of the competitive power ventures, if we can have cooperative power ventures and put solar panels on our roofs, we have so many roofs, we have so much sunshine if this plant isn't around. And then, you know, we can produce solar power, we can produce electricity in ways that don't harm our earth and keep Middletown safe for our kids and our grandkids and our pets. So that's what I would like to say. Thank you very much for listening and for your hard work, for everyone fighting this plant.
For the record, would you tell us who you are and where you live?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I'm Maria Blon. I live at 5 Earl Street, and that's where all the fire trucks were the other day, yesterday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Scott Martens, and I'm here today representing hundreds, if not thousands, of concerned citizens that were sickened by the recent events at the CPV power plant, burning fuel oil as they await their pipeline, illegal pipeline, I might add, to hook up to natural gas, which, of course, she so eloquently put, is just going to make it worse because then we're not even going to be able to see it or smell it. It's just going to be making us sick. And I'm also representing Protect Orange County. We're a grassroots organization that is devoted to fighting this frack gas infrastructure. And we need everybody out here to mobilize. And if we do, we can shut down this plant. I'm born and raised in Middletown. I now live in Minnesink. I'm a father, a husband, and I ask for you all to stand with us. People power will bring CPV down. And again, our neighbors in the state of Pennsylvania are being fracked to death. We've all seen the images of people's water faucets in flames, and this is the reality for thousands of people now because of these frack gas wells. This one CPV plant in our town is going to need 150 new fracked wells every single year. 150. Now, that might not be in your backyard, okay? But it's in somebody just like yours backyard because of this plant, okay? Governor Cuomo banned fracking in New York State, and Mayor DeStefano claims to be anti-fracking. Yet, as a state, we house hundreds of miles of frack gas pipelines, hundreds of metering stations, many compressor stations, and now massive power plants run on frack gas. And as a city, Middletown is in the shadow of and facilitated the location for a huge frack gas power plant. Very early on in the process, the mayor, Mr. DeStefano, joined forces with CPV and agreed to sell gray water to the plant. Without this agreement, CPV would not have chosen this location. And that is evidenced by the fact that every CPV frack gas power plant on their own website has a similar deal with a municipality. It is a necessary component of their business to buy the water from a municipality. If that had not been offered by this gentleman right here, this plant would have gone somewhere else. And that's just a fact. So this is fracking, and this is facilitating the contamination of Pennsylvania's water supply. We need to mobilize for our Protect Orange County events. The Saturday picket from 11 to noon at the power plant site, the vigil that we're going to have at Cuomo's house in Mount Kisco on the 25th. Look on our website and on Facebook for it, and keep calling the DEC and Cuomo's office. They do document the number of phone calls and emails about these specific projects. And if we get enough people to physically rally, the message will be picked up by major media. This scenario has all the ingredients to go absolutely viral. It's built on corruption. It's fracked gas. It's poison. Everywhere. It's bad for our environment. We're in a climate crisis that's only going to exacerbate it. So with that amount of public support physically at a rally, that is too much bad publicity for either Cuomo or Mr. DeStefano here or the other elected officials who are supposed to be looking out for us to ignore. Mayor DeStefano stated that if CPV were to have a negative effect on the residents of Middletown, he would act. So I'm going to read some stuff from residents of Middletown. We were driving down Dulcintown Road today and could see the plumes settling on Middletown, a huge heavy fog. It started smelling and pretty quickly I felt dizzy. I'm usually not affected by things like that. This must be really bad. Another one, this is totally out of control. I live in Middletown by the old Horton Hospital and it stinks of diesel fuel really, really badly. I can't open the windows of my house because it stinks so bad.
Your 4 minutes are up.
I woke up to the smell filled with exhaust. My husband thought something had happened to the furnace. I felt nauseous and inside of my nose was burning. I was worried.
Your 4
I
minutes
smelled
are up.
overwhelming and awful, and the windows were closed. And there are hundreds of comments like this. So my question is, what is Mr. DeStefano going to do about it? What action is he going to take other than try to convince us that everything is okay? And you guys too, please stand up for the people that you said you would defend, and thank you for giving me a little bit extra time. I really appreciate it.
Good evening. My name is Joan Terrell, and I live in Warwick, so I'm a neighbor of yours. And I was choking on the diesel from the CPV frac gas power plant, and that brings me here tonight. CPV is turning our county into a sacrifice zone, poisoning our bodies with every breath we take. If it's allowed to continue over the next 40 years, or even for the next 1, 2, or 5, we'll be slowly dying, not thriving, from daily exposure to deadly chemicals. Now, the leaders who brought this to us, some of you being those individuals, some of you newer, those leaders bear some responsibility for decisions made to promote and support the project. However, I understand that CPV was sold to you by a deep-pocketed global fossil fuel corporation that's masterful at greasing the levers of government power to sell their criminal enterprise, to reward cooperation with just enough local financial support to get endorsements. They do this exceedingly well, and we're not their first scam victims, and we're not their last. Right now, in rural Handy Township, Michigan, the town supervisor, Ed Alverson, on the website and in the press, is bragging in spite of some concerted anxieties from his citizens about how great the upcoming CPV plant, which hasn't been built yet, will be for his community's economic and job prospects. Sound familiar? 23 jobs. I ask of you leaders, and those of you especially who had a decision-making power and who do now, did any of you, or are you now, taking time to consider the wealth of available evidence on the harms of frac gas power to frontline communities like this one before signing on? Or were you, who were able to decide in those early days, in a rush to bring home the promised CPV bacon to the electorate? That's understandable, but in the absence of due diligence, you and other leaders have unfortunately brought destruction, economic stress, and eventual environmental ruin to our doors. You brought home heartbreak. Science says that CPV's odorless gas emissions will cause cancer, endocrine, cardiac, pulmonary, and neurological disease. Its methane's 100 times more strong as a GHG than carbon dioxide. It'll cause catastrophic warming in the valley, contribute 10% to New York's climate warming emissions. The plant's energy is unneeded here and was always intended for regional and global markets, not for us. And our current energy bills now include a monthly surcharge to pay for costs for the plant. We're paying for our own destruction. The Pacocco trial in New York exposed hundreds of thousands of dollars in CPV bribes to state officials to move the project forward. CPV recognized that its project couldn't win approval on merits, so they gamed the permitting process and appealed to politicians' greed and ambition. Holding political office doesn't require the skills of true leadership. Great leadership requires thoughtful decision-making, vision, aptitude for analysis, empathy, compassion, and courage against the lures of unbridled power and money. These are not quaint notions, these are strengths in our age that save lives, elevate the human condition, and create opportunities for people that aren't purchased with the lives of the many to make profits for the few. Colin Powell has said, quote, "Leadership is solving problems. The day your soldiers stop bringing you their problems is the day you have stopped leading them. They have either lost confidence that you can help or concluded that you do not care, and either case is a failure of leadership," unquote. Middletown, Orange County, we have a problem. We are bringing a problem to you. We need you to do as Mayor DeStefano promised and speak and act in unity with us to stop the project. As Powell says, if you do not lead, we will know you do not care. And courage is defined as strength in the face of pain and grief. My courage brings me here tonight, and these others, I'm sure, in the face of our pain and grief at that plume and what it means. We do remind you, and I remind you sincerely, that your past support for this deadly plant does not have to define your future actions. We will embrace your change of attitude. We all learn, and when we do better. Good leaders do better. Do better. Stop CPV. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mary Lou Dietrich, 14 Chestnut Street. Basically, I'm here to ask you guys to start calling the DEC. I called, if you know nothing else about me, I am persistent. I don't stop. I called the DEC 5 times today, and I get very polite people. They're very nice, and they keep telling me, yes, we've gotten complaints, yes, yes, yes. And today the gentleman said, we do have a report, but I can't give it to you. I have to get permission to give it to you. Well, I'm imploring you guys. They'll give it to you. They won't give it to me. So I am asking you as my elected officials to tell me what I'm breathing. Thank you very much.
How y'all doing tonight? Sam Piquias. I live over on 10 Oak Drive in 4th Ward. How y'all doing tonight? Smiles, finally. This is great. This is community and democracy at its best. I'm going to come at the CPV issue a little different stance. I am an environmentalist also, but my concern is safety, security. I'm sure if that plant is ever a disaster, not unlike the Killeen power plant in Milltown, Connecticut in 2010 that exploded also, if you go look at it on Google it, what happens with our fire company, with our police officers? Because you know they're going to respond to that. And you know there's an ammonia tank on that. My prior history, I'm a prior medic in the Air Force for many years. I'm also a trauma nurse at Westchester Medical Center. I work in a burn unit. And let me tell you, ammonia gas, when it explodes, when it hits you, it kills you. I don't know. I fear for our fire department and our police officers responding to that if they're downwind. Yeah. I really do. I don't know if they're properly equipped, if they have proper training. This whole thing with Percoco and the whole pay-to-play stuff, there are so many more questions and answers right now with this entire project. And I'm fearing for safety. Even when you go now also with the new EPA under the current administration, they have literally gutted all regulations. We don't really know, or may not ever know, what comes out of those stacks. Why? Because now these companies have been told, don't look, don't tell. That's a problem. I moved back here. I made an effort, after my service in the military, I come back here in 2007. Unfortunately, I can't go backwards. And what happened in the past, maybe I was too busy with my 60-hour work week, so I couldn't do that. But that's why we like to all you guys to watch out for us too. Yeah. And that's my own concern. I don't want to be called I always hear the term the crazies. I don't like that term. And let me tell you why. Because in the first Gulf War, a bunch of our troops told people, you're crazy. We said, something's wrong with the air. Something's wrong. And guess what? Gulf War syndrome. I had friends of mine die. Trade towers. I volunteered. Went down trade towers. Guess what? The air's okay. We're not crazies. Question everything for our families. I have 2 little girls. I spent 20 years going in Mach 4 gear and chemical warfare stuff for my girls to have lived through it now too. It's just not right. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rayat. I live in 7 Lexington Way. Our family's story started here in 2005. When my son was a year old, we moved into Wickham. It even started before that. Me and my wife met at SUNY Orange. Our whole story has been Middletown. And I thought going forward it was going to be from now on. And for the first time in 13 years, that's in question. I'm living in a condo now after I lived in workforce housing on Wayanda, right next to where the plant was being built. I watched it being erected, questioning why something that massive was next to so many low-income families. So many single moms who are just trying to make it by. So many families who are just trying to get up. I finally made it to a condo onto the hill, right? That hill happens to face south. And directly due south of me, at my eye level, is the stack of the CPV power plant. And when I walk out on my deck on Saturday morning to see if the birds are out because it's warm, I get hit with a plume of smoke. And that's fine because they're testing diesel, and I get that. It's a testing phase. I'm also told that it will be odorless once we switch to gas. Carbon monoxide is odorless, and it is deadly. Saying something is odorless is not reassuring. It is not, that is not, I want to know what it is. I want to know what's coming out, and I want to know what's going to settle in the parking lot where the kids play basketball, because that's what it did. I wasn't worried about this. I really trusted everybody here. I really gave everyone the benefit of the doubt. I'm not a protester. I'm just a guy here with his 2 kids and his wife, and I want my life in Middletown. I want my nice parking lot. I want the trail going in, and I want to be able to walk around and enjoy what we're building together, because that's what we've been doing. We've all been doing that. We've all been into that. Let's not ruin it with this one thing because $1 billion rolled into town. That's all I have. Thank you.
Cy Dibble, 61 Anthony Street, City of Middletown, Common Council, Mayor. 1 year ago, I experienced this right next to my house with the city's health and the police department. They removed a situation that was severe, as some of you can remember, where a piece of equipment was billing diesel fumes right into my home. Of course, the kid was off for the holiday this past Monday, and I got a scare call again, 1 year to the day, where my mother-in-law states that there was an awful smell of diesel fumes outside, so they went back inside, and kind of choked me up a little bit because I just thought it was this contractor that was removed from the property. It turns out that the diesel smell was from the power plant, and at this point in time, no one in the area had any control over this. This was some company testing or whatever they were doing. My question to the Common Council, the mayor, is can we pause that, because that doesn't seem like that was normal, just like the contractor billing the smoke into my private home before. It's just now that it's affecting the rest of my fellow residents of the area. I beg you guys to take a close look at this, because it's not very healthy for any of us to experience that, me again, and any of the residents in Middletown, especially with that diesel, that I'm aware of what took place before. I appreciate it. Thank you. Bye.
Good evening. Vince Crescenzo, Watkins Avenue, 2nd Ward. I'm here to give you an update on the superintendent search, so I'm representing the Middletown Board of Education tonight. Don't have a lot to tell you. The focus groups went very, very well. We got a lot of good insight. All that information went to Dr. Christman, our headhunter up in Buffalo, and he's putting it together now. He's already, actually we have out ads in the superintendent periodicals that they normally read. There's going to be 2 in our local paper, and we're sending out flyers also. So at this time, Dr. Christman's putting all this information together. It's voluminous. I don't know how he's going to do it. And that sets up our criteria for what we want to look for in a superintendent. So he'll coalesce all that stuff, send it back to us, we'll look it over, and then he'll start sending us, not the applicants physically, but their their vitae, their resumes and what have you, and we'll look through that. But the ultimate goal, obviously, is for Dr. Christman to send us 5 finalists who will interview and make a decision from there. And if that doesn't work, we'll start the process over again. But so far, so good. It's running very, very smoothly. We're happy with, and again, thank you for the folks that, from this group that were part of the focus group. It was a very positive experience for us. We learned a lot. And that's it. So hopefully, within the next 3 to 4 weeks, we'll have something much more positive to, not positive, but much more concrete to add to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to address the council?
Hi, Bob Dietrich, 14 Chestnut Street. I'm going to change the topic a little bit. New York State has the 4th most stringent gun laws in the nation, which is very positive, just behind California, New Jersey, and Massachusetts. It is still not strong enough. As a city, can we make a statement, a law, or a policy to make us a leader in gun control? This past weekend, an event held not very far from our city offered an AR-15 as a raffle prize. A week after we saw the massacre of children. Can we at the least ban semi-automatic weapons in our city? Make some sort of statement, okay, so that in this issue we can be a leader. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Melanie Haynes. I want to say hello to everyone that is my neighbor, my classmate, my colleagues, my old teachers, all of these people from Middletown that have been a part of my whole life. I've lived my entire life in Middletown except for when I was in college. I was not expecting to speak. Many people were more eloquent. Mr. Harnick was one of them. My impression of being leaders and being upworthy citizens in our society is to learn what's right and then to do what's right. And if it can be better, to make it better. And I think that that follows suit on almost every topic that's been brought up today, from our environment and managing our health, managing our gun laws in our society. In terms of our environment and our health, it seems to me that that's #1 priority in everything that we do. If we can make our air better, we should be. If we can avoid having a fracked gas plant where we can't even produce the gas in our own state, if we can't transport it safely without having risks of spills and leaks into our wetlands, into our healthy environments, then we may need to consider that another alternative is better. Maybe solar panels are not where they need to be yet, but if we don't invest in them and continue to put research towards that, we won't make progress in that direction. I bought a Prius. I have cursed myself many times for it, and at the same time, I would buy another Prius because that was putting things in the direction that they need to go. We need to keep working on those technologies, keep investing in those technologies, and make progress in that direction. If we can do better, we do better. We find the way to make progress, and we don't backtrack. We go forward, always forward, and don't look back. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Rhoda Mack, Orange County. I just want to bring this back to the CPV power plant and all of the eloquent, informative things you've heard. And I just want to say, what are you guys going to do?
Good evening. I'm Greg Winter. I grew up here in Middletown. Joe knows me. Jerry knows me. I spent most of my life on 55 Bedford Avenue, and I feel really sad for Middletown that it's going to get dumped on. There's nothing you can do about it unless you can raise Cain. I don't know how you're going to do that, but I hope you can. And, you know, growing up here and coming back here, and I live in Waybeonda, and I must apologize for my town. Only for me. I fought it over there. I wrote to the planning board. I said, this is ridiculous. I was so angry, and being an ex-football player, I had to calm myself down so I didn't punch somebody out. When I saw that union sign, and I do not have anything against union contracts, and I saw that union sign say, we are your neighbors. And I thought, really? You're coming in here with a gas frac power plant, almost $1 billion. This is crazy. This is really crazy. And you know the wind. I wrote it in my letter to the planning board. You know, you had 10 days to respond. I said, Middletown is within the blast zone. Minnesink schools were in the blast zone. 5-mile radius. If something happens, the only school in Minnesink that is out of it is Otisville. So this is really serious. This is not something we can take lightly. You know, we've been overrun by a major corporation here. And I live about a mile from it, and I got a whiff of it, and I got a headache the other day when the wind blew my way. So this is not good. So think deeply about it. If you can do something, I would appreciate it. Being a former Middletown resident, grew up here, went to school here, graduated here, went to Orange County here, went in the service, came out in 1970, went back to college, got my grades up, transferred down to a nice college in West Virginia, had wonderful well water. I don't have that here, but what can you do? Anyway, I hope you take deep consideration of this problem. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening, Merritt Winter from Lake Avenue. I'm back in the business of recruiting firefighters for the Middletown Fire Department. For those who don't know, Middletown is a combination department. We have our paid personnel, and we have our officers and firefighters are volunteer. So what I'd like to offer is a program where we're going to be contacting, having work details at a lot of the public events over this warm weather. Some of that's a lot of that actually is in the planning stage right now. What I'd like to do is offer my home phone with a machine on it. So if you really want it, are interested, and you'd like to talk about what we can offer, what we ask for duty, my number is 342-3465. There's a machine on it. I'll reply to you if you give me a return number. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mayor.
Good evening, and I welcome all the folks who came here this evening to give their input on the project. First, let me begin with Mr. Martens is correct that in my State of the City about, I believe it was on February 2nd, that I did say once this project, or if this project negatively impacts the city of Middletown, that the city of Middletown would act. For those who are watching and that would get the misperception that this is a Middletown project, it is not. This project is in the town of Waukegan, our town of Waybeonda, I'm sorry. So Middletown's participation, I think it deserves a little history of the project, because many people who have called, many of the calls that I've taken, people aren't familiar with the history of the project. They think that this is something that just came up within the last year or so and received no public scrutiny. First, to those in the town of Waukegan who live by the Orange Plaza Mall, who have called about the RSR plant. that has a similar plume at a lead factory. That is not what this project is about. This is a project on the south end of the city. One lady sent me pictures of RSR with the plume, blaming it once again on Middletown, and I tried to explain to her, ma'am, that is not in the city of Middletown, and so that was the argument. Similar to this plant. This plant is not in the city of Middletown. Now, we do have some of our plants that do similar things. We all are familiar with the odor from Pollock's or Bell Flavor for many, many years, that we've had complaints from surrounding communities about the odor here in the city of Middletown, and what are you doing about it? We've also had complaints about some of the discharge out of the plastic plant.